The Evening Brothers are proud to present Twinkie Talk.
How good a feeling do you actually have about this? Because it doesn't.
Oh, I have a great feeling. No, how do you usually start this?
You say, hey everybody, welcome to Twinkie Talk, hosted by the Evening Brothers. It is the only podcast where three white guys talk about movies.
Or you could just say, how do you usually start this? And then Lincoln will do it for you.
Exactly, yeah.
And then Lincoln will do it
Brother
for
Preston.
you. But I'm gonna cut that out, so you better say something in its place, or it'll just be dead silence until you start.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Twinkie Talk, hosted by the Evening Brothers. The only podcast in existence
NPR stank
where we watch punish each other with terrible movies and then entertain you with our commentary. I am Brother Preston.
That was so good. I'm Brother Lincoln.
I am Brother John, and some of that was true, which is exciting.
Parts of it weren't true. Oh, the entertaining part?
I don't know. I was going to say it's bold to assume.
Yeah. That's maybe the most challenging part of your statement. Before we get really started, I want to maybe talk about our ending idea, or we're going to have some sort of like evaluation at the end.
Oh, yeah.
So you had me do the intro without actually being ready to start. Interesting.
No, this is in it.
Preston, you go on ahead and intro,
Seriously,
but then
he's
I'm going
so
to cut you off
anxious to get
immediately.
started I mean, really, it's his fault.
No,
He's
I
just
want
making
this.
more
I want
editing
this.
work for
I
him.
want this in the podcast.
Yeah, let me just curb stomp you real quick.
I want this in. I want people to know that we're adding this special cool thing. We're changing up the format a little bit. People need to know that.
Do you want to tell the people about that, or do you want to just?
Yeah. So we have realized that over the course of these first 7 episodes that there doesn't seem to be a really strong sense of closure. We basically just go, oh, that's everything we had to say about the movie. So instead, we are going to, at the end of every discussion, or when the host feels like it's come to an end, we're going to ask, what punishment does watching this movie feel equivalent to? So we're all going to be thinking about our elaborate metaphors for how it feels to watch this movie.
I don't know about your guys' approach, but I am choosing to not think about it until it is standing directly in front of me.
Yeah, I'm just gonna let it speak to me once it happens.
Cool, great. I'm glad we're all on the same
this
page.
isn't. We already have a homework thing, so this is just whatever happens.
Yeah. We don't want this to become.
Yeah, we're not gonna prepare outside for this. We already do enough work.
That's too much work.
Exactly.
Preston, you made us watch a movie. Before you tell us about that movie, I feel like it's important that because we're going to ask you about so much of this movie, can you give a little insight into what it is that you do on the reg that might pertain to this movie?
Sure. Well, I feel like that's an okay segue into discussing the movie. So the movie this week was watching Cliffhanger, starring Sylvester Stallone. It's a 1993 action movie that is, it is a movie. Features heavily with the outdoors and rock climbing, which is something that I enjoy quite a bit. And yeah, it is just heinously bad.
I would agree with the first heinously. I actually wouldn't add the second heinously.
Can I give like a half? Can I say like heinously bad?
Heinously bad.
A heinous and a half.
Preston, I wanted heinous and a half.
Cliffhanger 2, a heinous and a half.
Yeah, so I guess we'll get to the heinous and a half as we keep talking. Preston, I want to say, before we get into discussing like the actual plot of the movie.
God, there's a lot of preamble on this episode, huh?
That's Lincoln. He told me to get right into it, so I did, and then he just wants to drag it out.
Hey, I have a joke. I have a thing to say. I have a goof.
Oh, you have a goof?
Oh, okay.
No,
it's only going to take long. Well, I told one of my dad's friends that we were watching Cliffhanger, and he said, oh, so you're switching to watching just good movies now? Excellent good movies? And I was like, I don't know. I haven't watched it yet. And once I watched it, I understand why one's dad's friend might really enjoy this piece of film.
This does really seem like somebody's dad's friend's best movie in the world.
Absolutely.
So I'm done. I'm done with preamble.
Honestly,
now.
I mean, I think with that summary, I think that's the end of the episode. I think you've done a beautiful
And you know
job
what's fun
summing
is
up.
the way Lincoln The way Lincoln said that, the way Lincoln explained how this was going to go, you technically have that power. You can tell us when we're done.
Perfect.
You can. This could be like the new format.
That was
8-minute
That was
episodes.
good. In and out. Cliffhanger's a movie anyway. Bye.
See ya.
We're switching to awareness instead of information. Just
Just
know that this movie. Don't know of this movie.
no, just it exists. Sylvester Stallone is in it. Have a nice day.
Oh, you bet he's in
He
it.
certainly is. All of his insane
And
muscles.
so is Michael Rooker. Which
He sure
is
is. I
my favorite thing.
I think his
Yeah,
legal name.
I had no
his
idea.
Christian name is White Yondu.
White Yondu. I didn't know that was Michael Rooker at first, but then once he started yelling in an angry lecture format, I was like, oh, I know this. What, you got something to prove, boy? I was oh, I know who this is.
That was it when he said
This is
boy.
Yondu.
That's what got me.
Boy, get us in, Preston. Take us.
Take us through
Take us
this
through this
movie.
movie.
Well, excellent. Well, so
Hey, you know what? Before we get started, I wanted to talk to you guys about I don't know, just the concept of a movie called Cliffhanger that has no cliffhangers. Like, not even a scene ends on a cliffhanger. It's just stuff happens and
Yeah.
then it resolves, and then more stuff happens and that resolves.
I think it's in like the Middle English sense of the word as like one who hangs on cliffs, not like a story. He
Yeah,
is
no-
a cliffhanger.
No shit, Lincoln. I understand.
there is
It
a
just
lot
seems
of
like
hanging off of cliffs in this movie. I don't know if you picked
there's
up
so
on that.
much.
I think that's why it's called Cliffhanger.
There's a little bit. Oh,
Yeah.
thank you, Preston. I didn't
you're-
understand.
you're
Now
so
I get
welcome.
it.
You know?
I wish Lincoln had explained it that eloquently.
Can we also just take one brief moment, since we're just dragging this intro out
before we
as
get
long
started.
as possible.
Before we get to preamble number 4.
Lincoln, will you hold up your glass for just a moment?
Your dry,
You know,
empty
the podcasting
glass.
audience
For
cannot
those of you
see.
who are listening, we started recording 9 minutes and 5 seconds ago, and Lincoln's drink is already empty.
It's gone. This is going to be a good one.
I guess I'm just gonna have to go get another one sometime soon.
Oh boy! All right, well, so Cliffhanger opens with Mr. Sylvester Stallone rock climbing up a cliff. Which you find out he is climbing up this cliff to save some people who got stuck at the top. There was some made up bullcrap, shall we say, about a knee injury. And then they bring in a helicopter, and everything just goes terribly, terribly wrong.
Yeah, so the first thing I want to note is that it says, the credits say based on a premise by John Long, which just, what kind of legal battles have to be fought to like settle on based on a premise? Like, not based on the book, not based on the
true story, not even
screenplay.
inspired by events. It was just like based on a thing this guy said.
based on a premise.
But
like,
that's the thing.
like, God damn it, he had his premise.
There is an element of this movie that is based on a real life thing that actually happened, which is the funny thing, and which was also your
Yeah.
homework, which we will get
Yes, it
to
was.
later. I want to drag
Okay.
that out just a little bit.
I love it.
Yeah,
And for
I
the
would
people who
100%
haven't seen
agree.
this movie, I feel like they need to get a sense of just how crazy it is. And how
Yeah,
off
this
the
movie's
rails
pretty-
it is,
pretty crazy.
and how ridiculous it is that this was loosely based on something that actually happened.
You know, like if
So-
for anybody who hasn't seen this movie, if you've seen Die Hard,
Oh,
put
yeah.
that in the snow and you've seen this movie. Congratulations.
Yeah,
Yeah, the amount of Die Hard when the two agents come in and start like taking control of the situation, I was like, oh, this is Die Hard.
Oh, yeah.
With Yondu and Sylvester Stallone.
I'm so glad you
Absolutely.
picked up on
Yeah,
that.
you can-
Because I have a note here that says discount Hans Gruber.
Yeah.
You could tell he's evil because the bad guy in this movie, what actor plays him?
Hold on.
John Lithgow.
Lithgow.
John Lithgow, I like him as an actor, but literally every passing moment, his accent gets more intense.
It does. It's incredible. He is a different guy at the beginning of this movie.
Yeah, he's very like all business, no pleasure at the beginning, and at the end he's like, spinning around in a chair, stroking a cat, saying like I I was wondering when you'd find me. Like,
You can say it. John Lithgow is all pleasure at the end of this movie. It's okay.
it's all pleasure. He starts all this, he ends all pleasure, which is how is also my own viewing experience watching this.
Thank you for that insight into your personal life, Lincoln.
Okay, so the helicopter is rescuing, and they're doing like a pincher move where like Rocky is climbing up the stony walls, and he's gonna like meet up with these hostages. Preston, we're gonna ask you so many questions about like the logistics of how this kind of stuff actually works.
Oh yeah.
Is that a viable
No, you
strategy?
would never
Does
do
that
that.
strategy make any sense at all?
Doesn't feel like you would.
No, because you're already bringing the helicopter.
And then
up
what
there.
would you do instead?
You would just, get lowered out of the helicopter. You wouldn't climb up and meet a helicopter.
This is what I was thinking. Is it makes more sense to just sort of drop out of the currently in the air
Right,
object.
exactly. Yeah, no, that would never be the
Yeah,
case.
I guess if you have a wire, you could just drop down and hook them up,
Right,
and then
exactly.
pull right back
Yeah,
up.
and then they make a whole big thing
Okay.
about how the weather isn't right to land the helicopter or do a long line, which is when, you use the winch. So they decide that the safer thing is to tie the helicopter to a cliff and then zip line people over.
Yeah.
Which, again, you would never do.
It's impervious to wind.
Right, yeah, you would never attach a helicopter to the wall.
Right. Yeah, that seems really dangerous. Well, it becomes a danger later in the movie.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
you
it
see
certainly
what
does.
happens.
That's a good point, yeah.
But that's the bad guy though.
Right, exactly.
So as long as you're a good boy, you can do whatever you want and science doesn't care.
One thing I noticed, so first of all, great job finding a stunt double that literally can never face the camera because he looks so little like Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, they nailed it.
Not great.
One of the helicopter pilot, Jess, says, "I don't recognize the face, but the butt looks familiar." And I just assumed that that's what they were like going off of when they hired the stunt double.
Presumably, yeah. I mean, you're not looking at the stunt double's face, Lincoln.
Like a dead
I guess
ringer.
not.
A dead ringer walks in and they're like, "This is great. Turn around." And he does, and I'm like, "Dang
Turn
it.
around, bend over.
It was so close, man. I'm sorry, you're just not
and
juicy
Sylvester
enough."
Stallone. Sylvester's just standing there with his butt facing the. Just turns around. Was that it? Was he it? No. Oh, sorry.
Is that the right
Okay,
guy?
I'll stay here.
Did he do it?
Once you see Stallone's face, he is such a dork.
Mm-hmm.
As much as they're trying to make him an action star, he's just like a little dork. He's just a little geek,
He's
a little nerd.
such a good little boy, though. Like
He is a good little
he
boy.
looks like he did so well in kindergarten. He looks like he nailed it.
Yeah. He was so good at stacking chairs.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that kid was the height of youth group.
So this rescue goes completely sideways. There's a harness that fails.
Goes.
Somebody falls. It's a very tense
Somebody.
moment.
yeah, Preston, I know a little bit about like the amount of safeguards that they have when you are like on high ropes courses and stuff. How many simultaneous things would have to fail at exactly the same moment for what happened in it to happen? For someone to slip off their harness and then slip off their like entire, backup
A
thing
lot
and
of
then
them.
fall.
Which actually, if you watch the movie, they actually they had to modify the buckle, cut it so it fails. Would
Are you
never
suggesting
happen.
sabotage? Because that's an interesting subplot that I don't know that I picked up on, but I'm down to explore it if you want.
I mean,
That someone sabotaged that woman's buckle and also her carabiner and also
Exactly.
her harness.
Yeah. Preston, I have another technical question for. We're just going to try to get them all out of the way right
excellent.
now. At what point does muscle mass stop being a help and start being a hindrance in terms of rock climbing? Because it seems to me like Sylvester Stallone at his peak in this movie probably has, I would say, a good 70 pounds too much muscle to be doing what he's doing.
I mean, it's just a power to weight ratio. He weighs more, but he's got more power.
Am I correct in saying that would not be super helpful
the majority,
for him? Like at some point,
most climbers are not that bulky, shall we say?
You don't have to be euphemistic. We're talking about a movie. Like, we're not going to hurt his
Well,
feelings.
yeah, but that's
We
the
might.
right
I don't-
word to what word did you use, Lincoln?
I don't know. I just when you said bulky, shall we say? I thought you were like disguising a worse
no.
word that you had in your head.
You know what? I can hurt his feelings. Hey, Sylvester, because I know you listen to this podcast. Expendables 4 was dog shit, my dude. Bad movie. Should have
Oh,
done
this
it.
is true. You watched two
Hey.
bad Sylvester Stallone movies in a row. Are you?
I sure did.
Wow.
You didn't have to say bad. I watched 2 Sylvester Stallone movies in a row. It's the same sentence.
Hey, Rocky 1 is okay.
Rocky 1 is perfectly fine, and he's in the Creed movies, some of them, and those are pretty good. So he drops this
Yes.
lady directly into a chasm. Chasm?
Sure.
Chasm.
Okay.
No, it's actually cavern.
Chasm.
Cavern.
He drops her into his calves, and
And his calves are just endless. They're
pretty
bottomless. So
bulky. Yeah.
she falls to her death.
bulky,
And he
shall we
blames
say.
himself. He blames himself. He blames himself because he dropped her.
Right.
Which he straight did, right? Like,
Yeah.
He definitely did.
there's like
do.
a whole subplot where he like learns to forgive himself or to like feel like it's not his fault. It is though a little bit.
They're really going along with the Die Hard strategy. This is a very like I shot a kid kind of like moment of like, yeah, I think you maybe should have some regrets about your
I
actions.
wish that his character in this movie had shot a kid. I wish that was the backstory. Just not in a climbing accident, he shot a child.
So the next thing that happens is there's a bit
There
of
it
a
is.
time jump. We see Gabe driving back into the national park to get his stuff and try to win back the girl.
Is his name
Oh, yeah.
Gabe?
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
His name is Gabe.
That really
Yep.
fits. That makes perfect sense.
Really fits the youth group kindergarten
Yeah.
kind of energy.
Yeah.
Gabe, which is Sylvester Stallone's character. Are we just gonna stay with Sylvester Stallone, Sly, Syl?
God, not
Just gonna
anymore.
use it
Now we're going for
interchangeably.
Gabe.
Alright, going for Gabe. Okay,
I
perfect.
call him Sylvie sometimes in my
Did you
notes.
say
so-
Gabe is more insulting?
I mean, it is more
Me?
insulting.
It is. Gabe is more diminutive than Sylvester.
Well, you could call him Gabe Stallone if you want to.
All right, Gabe Stallone's driving back in, and there's a whole scene with his girl who's still really mad at him, and mad that he left and abandoned her. And then there's a distress call for. Oh wait, hang on. We gotta
we gotta
one
back up
second.
and
Sorry,
talk about
sorry,
the
sorry.
Noco ski bums.
So there's a plane hijacking
yes.
in this
Yeah.
movie.
This is the most balls to the wall B plot of any movie.
There is a Dark Knight Rises in this movie, yes.
Yes, they pull a Bane. While this was happening, so these two, yeah, they're like intercut. So you've got like Stallone returning, and then you've got this setup of like the money is leaving, and they're like such vastly different universes and genres of movie. I was like filled with excitement, just like how are they going to get these to like smash into each other? Like how are these
if
worlds
nothing,
going to meet?
this movie is creative, shall we say?
Yeah, I mean, I really like the element of like slowly setting up a like action thriller in your like, outdoor drama about someone who's dealing with loss and guilt. Like it's so fun to see like this much more exciting thing like building up in the background.
Oh yeah, no, that sounds great in concept. The problem is
In concept.
it just never becomes anything.
No, the execution is
No,
is
it
terrible.
really doesn't.
So we meet some FBI agents and some Treasury agents who talk about how there's never been a hijacking of a plane and how great it is.
Ever.
Yeah, it's
Planes are
never
invincible
happened.
to
It
hijack.
never will and it never could. Isn't that great?
But in the context of like, armored trucks get hijacked and stuff like that, but they've never had an issue with the plane. So they're putting all these bills on a plane. The plane takes off.
Which I actually, hold on, I refuse to accept that a plane had never been hijacked in 1983. Ever?
No, DB Cooper hijacked the plane.
Yeah, okay, good. There's been some.
That
All
happened
right.
in the 60s.
So they don't know.
No, they don't know what they're talking about. Also, if they're trying to like do a money transaction to another country, why don't they just like wire transfer it? Why does it involve like printing out physical currency and then like physically moving it to another
plot.
place?
You can't drop a wire transfer out of a plane, Lincoln.
Sylvester Stallone out in the mountains on the hunt for like missing radio signals. It would be pretty good.
No, he doesn't even, like, no one told him to do that. He's just looking for the money, and they're like, no, it's a wire transfer. And he's like, I'm looking for the wire.
Where is
I'm
it?
looking for
Where is it?
Where's the wire? I'll cut it in half and put one half in my backpack so it fills up.
So there's this hijacking scene.
Wait, we're moving so fast. I have so many things I want to talk about that are happened before during like the Sylvester at home and the like all those kind of things.
Lincoln, you can talk about it anytime. Like at this point,
thank
these
you.
stories are so separate.
I
Doesn't really
like that
matter.
we're creating the same feeling that the movie does. Lincoln, you just say whatever you were thinking, and then Preston, you say whatever you were thinking, and then it's a total whiplash
And then we'll
that we'll never
figure it out
recover
as we
from.
go.
I like that we're punishing our listeners just as much.
Yeah, it's become a more aggressive podcast.
Antagonistic feeling. No, I want to talk about Sylvester Stallone's acting, which
Do
is
you?
just yes, I do, because he is acting so much.
He's doing
you
a lot
see
of
him
it.
on screen, and he's like, you can hear his inner monologue, like, "I'm gonna make a sad face because I think my character would be sad right now." And you're like, "You go, Sylvester. You make a sad face."
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's just doing so much acting.
And he delivers a sad line, and you can also internal monologue. You hear him go, "Hell yeah, you did it, you nailed it.
Hell yeah, that was so sad. Good job, Sylvester.
That was perfect, Sylvester."
And it ties in because I had a note that said Sylvester is trying his best like a fifth grader in a school program. He's just trying so hard and he's acting so much.
Yeah, that's true. He is. It's rough to watch, honestly. Like, this made me question whether or not I like Sylvester Stallone on any level, because I remember thinking Rocky's pretty good, and then I watched this and I went, that can't have been right. Like,
Sylvester, also, it's so funny in every Sylvester Stallone movie watching women just like fawn and swoon over this like kind of like messed up face that he has.
Oh, it's
where
awesome.
His jaw's like off from the rest of his face by a little bit.
yeah, it's just like the hottest women being like, "Oh, the Toxic Avenger. You're the only one I've ever wanted."
Oh man, you look like you were carved out of stone by a very clumsy sculptor.
by a blind person. It's wonderful. I don't know. I guess while we're on Sylvester Stallone, and I hate to bring it back to Expendables 4, but I'm going to do it because I don't hate it at all. That was a lie. Has he gotten worse? Am I crazy? Like,
Yes,
he's gotten
worse.
markedly worse at acting, right?
He definitely
Yeah.
didn't get better.
Okay.
He stopped giving himself those little affirmations. He lost his nerve. He's not going,
Or
"Hell
did
yeah, Sylvester."
he give himself too many? Did he say, like, "Oh,
Too
you're too
many.
good at
Oh.
this. You got to take it back a notch"?
Built his ego
You're
up too
so
much.
good that the Academy Awards don't even recognize you anymore. You gotta bring it back to their level.
Did they ever?
You know what?
No.
No.
Okay.
No.
I'm just double checking.
I hope not.
Anyways, so back to this plane hijacking. So
Yes, perfect
Imagine-
synchronicity with the movie.
The Dark Knight Rises, the opening of that, just like picture in your mind how cool that scene is and how much tension there is and how just well shot and executed and choreographed it is, and then just throw all of that out the window. And that doesn't even come close to how bad this scene is.
It's so rough.
It is terrible.
Well, do you think it would be
Lincoln, I can see
Do you think it would
in
be-
your eyes. I could see you want to defend this moment, and I'm just warning you. I don't know if you should.
Oh, I think we want him to.
Yeah, we do.
I guess I could say that it's kind of fun. I like it. I think it is the most exciting scene in the movie, but that's really
Oh,
I don't think it's saying a
couldn't
lot.
disagree
Yeah, I think
more.
it is potentially the least exciting scene in this whole movie.
I didn't mind it. I thought it was cool.
I think it's quite bad, and then there's my favorite line in the movie, which is, "This man's been hurt. What should we do? Get him to a hospital fast," and then just push him out the plane.
At the plane.
It's very good. It set the tone for the movie for me.
I do love how every like problem in this movie basically comes down to like catastrophic cascades of mechanical failures that happen simultaneously. So like just as the buckle and the carabiner and every single strap failed at the same time, in this movie, the flaps, the hydraulics, the like autopilot, the
actual
steering,
pilots.
everything, the actual pilots, everything fails.
The
at
random
exactly the
FBI
same
agent who
time
just happens
in
to be
order to get this to
alive
happen.
and goes out in a blaze of glory.
I mean, that actually is a cool way to go. I'm not gonna lie. If I had the opportunity,
It is a cool way to go. And then when the plane crashes, and the most accurate movie representation I've ever seen of Coloradoans is base jumping.
The dude
Okay.
broest dude bros you've ever seen in your entire life.
I made a note about them. I wrote, "Why are there Ninja Turtles in this Die Hard sequel?"
Which
I just refer to them as the Noco boys.
so by the way, in case you were trying to figure out the plot of this movie, we meet dude bros after the plane has crashed, and we jump back to Gabe driving back into the national park.
Well, it's just before the plane has crashed because they base jump. They're already in the park once the plane crashes.
No. Because we meet them for the first time when they're driving behind Gabe, and like they meet up with him and they're talking, and they say,
Yeah, but the plane hasn't crashed yet.
Does it
Lincoln,
matter?
it doesn't matter, but they don't go base jumping until later.
Okay, fine.
That was gold. I like how normally Lincoln says something and Preston and I are like, well, I don't know if that's true. And this time Preston's like, no.
That is 100% false. So Gabe decides that, or is convinced to join this rescue attempt with Hal.
Is that the old one who paints?
No, that's
or the other one.
Frank. Michael Rooker is Hal. And Hal's girlfriend was the one that Sylvester dropped. And there's some bitterness there.
I don't know.
We get a great scene.
I don't know. Was this like 80s, 90s? This was 90s. Was this 90s?
1993.
90s.
Like, do I not understand the 90s, or was there a little bit of a hint toward like maybe she wasn't super committed to Hal?
Yeah, I think maybe she kind of definitely liked Gabe more.
It seems like she did.
Because she confirms a date with him right before she goes. She goes, "We're still on for Friday," and he goes, "Yes."
Yeah, and then she gives him a little smooch, and then he goes, "Did you see that, Hal?" And then they're like, "Ha ha 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 ha." But really, like, I
don't know how different it was in the 90s, but like I'm pretty sure it was kind of similar rules as today, where it's like if you're dating someone and then you kiss someone else on the lips, it's probably because you don't really feel strongly about the person that you're dating.
It feels like that we can't have gotten that far in
I can't have changed that much, right?
so many years. Yeah.
So there's a pretty intense moment where Hal almost throws Gabe off a cliff.
Oh, that's right.
And somehow they decide,
Yeah, he does.
we're just going to cooperate and keep going now and go save some people. Of course, this distress call is a fake distress call from the thieves in the crashed plane. And then we get to see potentially the worst kidnapping ever. Like, they just sort of like...
Well, is it really a kidnapping, or is it more of a just like, do this, and then the rescuers are like,
right, well, that's
okay.
why
Yeah,
it's
they're
the
like,
worst
fair
kidnapping
enough.
ever. Because they just sort of show up and there's no, like, I don't know, it feels like there's not a lot of confusion. Right,
About,
and
like,
like,
who they
why is
are
there
and
money
what their
here?
role is.
It's just sort of, oh, well, all right, I guess we'll just wander around the woods with you guys. And
It feels like if you get a distress call, it's like I would say 40-60 shot that there's just going to be people with guns that are like, we lost all our gold or whatever.
I mean,
Like they react like, oh, cool, yeah, this happens. I understand.
Sweet.
And
Okay,
Tuesdays.
sweet.
I feel like this would have been served quite significantly by having a third person go along with them, like a new character that they then shoot to death, just to establish like, hey, these are for sure bad people. I don't know. Like I would have appreciated like, because for Sylvester and Hal, Gabe, there it is, and
Gabe
Hal.
Stallone.
Like you see these people and they're like, yo, you got guns. I would not, no part of me would be like, they'll shoot me. I would instantly assume what's happening here. They're probably not going to shoot me. That's why you need a third guy. Get him shot. Then there's stakes.
Yeah, I
Indeed.
agree. That should have been when the girlfriend died.
He should have been his new girlfriend.
his new girlfriend. Well, at least my new girlfriend's a trained rescue operations manager, so she's not gonna fall off the way that my other girlfriend
And
did.
then Sylvester like trips her and she falls into a bullet.
Falls into a bullet. The bullet's completely stationary, and she falls into
Yeah, it's
it.
like sitting on a rock.
and then a blood squib explodes, just like they do so
Of
often in
course.
this movie. This is a movie that I feel like they only remembered every once in a while that it was rated R,
100%.
is this rated R?
because they're going for like,
Yep.
oh yeah, they're going for like PG family friendly fun, you know.
And then every once in a while,
Mildly intense situations, and then mildly someone's like "fuck you," and then shoot him in the head, and then their head explodes.
yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Like
And
I
then we're
noticed
back
that
to, like-
there were definitely scenes where I was like, "Oh, this is fun, just going along," and somebody would be like, "You motherfucker, fuck you," and I was like, "Oh, that's right, they can do that."
And then the rest of the movie goes back to like, you know, intense depictions of perilous situations.
Yeah, and then it's just like some conflict between buddies, and then we're gonna throw a guy through a stalactite, and then it's just hanging out.
So there's a scene where they're like trying to find the first case of money that fell out of the plane.
The next thing that
And
happens.
they send Sylvester. The next thing that happens, they send Sylvester Stallone up the mountain, and they tie a rope to his ankle.
Right.
And I was so confused because it seemed like Yondu looked at Gabe and was like, "Hey, get away!" And then he just ties like a good knot. Couldn't he have just tied like a knot that will be very easily untied?
Yeah.
You would think so.
But then if he did that, how would we have the first of 3 times that Yondu says, "Hey, they're gonna shoot you probably, don't do that thing," and then gets hit in the head?
Lincoln, then we wouldn't have the tension of Gabe trying to cut the rope that's tied to his ankle.
Oh, so here's another mechanical failure. He decides to cut the rope by smashing it with a boot.
Is it a boot that he uses? I thought he had a
No,
little tool.
So those are crampons, which are the
Yes, they're crampons
spikes
that
you
go on the
put
bottom of your boot.
onto your boots to like walk on like snow and ice and stuff like that.
John, say it out loud right now. Say the word.
What?
Say the word out loud. You giggled.
Which word?
Say it.
Which word?
Crampon.
Crampon.
No, I was. That is funny. No, I was giggling just that it was like, I don't know. I appreciate, Preston, that you made me watch this movie specifically because there were so many things that I was like, did he just pull that out of like his utility belt? Why did he have that? And I love that.
Yeah. And see, the funny is crampons are like, they're pretty sharp. And the funny thing is, when he was hitting him with them, so you have your if these are your spikes like sticking out, you put them spikes together, so none of the spikes are sticking out. So he was basically just smacking the rope with a piece of metal. Like he wasn't actually using the spikes.
Why are the spikes together?
For storage, so you don't poke yourself on the spikes.
Oh, okay. I see. Yeah. So you
Right,
don't
exactly.
accidentally cut yourself while you're climbing.
Yeah, so he was just sort of smacking him
Wow.
with some metal, and that rope just happened to cut over the edge just in time.
So it's another example of just egregious mechanical
absolutely.
failure.
Yeah. And then there's some shooting, which Sylvester, for some reason, there's like one shot of him like up against the wall, and then another shot of him just looking straight down, which seems mildly counterproductive.
He's like, they wouldn't shoot me again.
Oh, I wonder who. I can't dodge if I can't see him. Which triggers an avalanche that I don't think actually really does anything.
No.
Yeah, the avalanche just sort of happens, and then everybody's fine, and it's, well, all right, I guess we'll keep going.
They really tease us quite a bit with the concept of an avalanche, but you realize quite quickly that they didn't have the budget or really the concept of what they would actually do with an avalanche.
Well, you know what they did during like the location scouting? Someone got a really cool shot of an avalanche, and they were like, we got to put this somewhere. And that they never shot coverage for like the people at the bottom or the people at the top.
No, they were just like, hey, can one of you guys just shout avalanche? One of you vague goons.
Oh, well, it is significant because one of the first case gets destroyed in this first avalanche.
I guess that's true.
Oh, I guess
This movie feels so much to me like a video game of, okay, go find the first case. Okay, destroy it. Okay, go find the second case.
Now go find the second case.
Climb up this mountain. Watch out for the quick
I
time
literally
events.
have that written. Yeah, it's like the snow's falling and it's like press X in 3, 2, press X.
Right.
And then of course the next scene with the like dramatic backlit shots of all these people
Yeah.
like chasing him
I
down.
will say this, there's some pretty great 90s mountain landscape shots that really saved this movie for, well, I don't know if they saved the movie, but they're a bright spot.
But it's a nice
in this
little
movie.
It's
little
it's a little
flavor.
reprieve.
An oasis,
an
yes.
oasis.
There's some very pretty rocks in this movie.
I don't disagree with
Some
that.
of it is kind of frustrating to watch this movie, and it's like, definitely cinematography was not the focus of any of the people
Definitely not.
making it, but just by virtue of like where film was as a craft and the fact that they shot it on film, it just like looks great the whole time.
Oh yeah, it looks spectacular. Can we remake Cliffhanger?
Yeah, I mean, they're theoretically
Yeah, we
making
can.
a sequel, so you can just get in on that.
Sequel?
With Sylvester still.
Apparently, yeah.
Please tell me Sylvester's back.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Just
I
direct
was
sequel.
just
It's
looking
been
at the.
it's been 30 years.
I've the Wikipedia pulled up
Another
over
plane
here.
has crashed.
Um,
And this time there's 6 cases full of
and
money.
apparently, they started defining a sequel in 1994, which involved
Which is the correct
A
time to
year after
develop
it
a
which
came
sequel.
out.
involved Gabe fighting terrorists who took control of the Hoover Dam.
Excuse me?
Yes.
Um,
Man, that sounds great because you'd get a fight on the Hoover Dam. That'd be a good movie.
yeah. Everybody's like rappelling down and like you get some good like swinging around like trading blows.
Oh,
Would have
yes.
been way cool.
Yeah, get the scene from that one G.I. Joe movie where they're all on the side of a wall.
Oh yeah, that
Yes.
one.
Is that a core
Yes,
memory
that
for
one.
you guys too, or is that just me?
Oh well, my core memory is the like awesome mountain dojo in that movie.
Also
with
quite
the, like
good.
indoor waterfall.
Anyways, it never really went anywhere.
What I would hope for, if they did make a sequel, I would hope that the beginning scene of that movie is like a shot for shot recreation of the opening scene from the first one, except this time it's Jess and she falls, and then we like start the cycle anew.
Can I every 30 years Sylvester Stallone has to drop a woman down a gorge.
That or he loses his ability to act that he traded his soul for.
Yeah, he's like, guys, it's getting tough. We gotta drop a lady. I'm so sorry.
Yikes.
I have to drop a lady or we're not gonna get to Expendables 7. People are gonna start to realize I'm not good at this.
People are gonna just begin to think that maybe I'm not an amazing actor.
I actually really do like this idea that Sylvester Stallone is some sort of eldritch god Pennywise type creature that has to sacrifice woman every 30 years
to keep his remarkable ethereal
rescue
otherworldly
skills.
acting
to keep
skills.
his incredible acting skills and that sweet bicep vein that doesn't seem to go away.
Oh. There's also some really good playground insults on this ledge, including
Oh, very much so.
Discount Hans Gruber saying fetch, and then I think this dog needs a leash, and then it's like they just go off with dog puns like that for way too long.
They're
Like-
really, really horny for the dog puns.
Yeah. Like, there's a reason they're called one-liners.
Okay, writing that down as an episode title.
There's only one of them. And they do it about 7 times.
Hanger, horny for the dog. Okay, we're good.
What did you just say?
Continue.
Hang on.
Did you say is that our title? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
No.
I actually am fine with that.
And then they figure out that, or I think they split up or something. Like, half of them decide to go and chase after Gabe, and then the other half just sort of... Oh, the other half goes for the second case.
Preston, I'll level with you. I don't have the faintest idea what happens in this
Fully
movie.
checked out until the end of the movie.
Yeah, why do you think I'm struggling to keep the wheels on this bus, Lincoln? Let alone the fact that you keep
I think
dragging
there
it
was-
off.
I think there was a lot of juice in our Sylvester Stallone being some sort of creature, but you didn't choose to go with that. You wanted to get back to the movie.
Get back to Stallone's The Cliffhanger, based on a concept based on a premise by John Long.
Based on just a vague notion.
I'm so excited to get to that point where we talk about that.
It should have just said John Long had an idea.
There was once a concept.
Anyways, we get a great scene of some human sledding.
Oh, actually,
Oh,
I have
yes.
so many things to say about
Sylvester
this.
Stallone stuffs
Yeah.
this dude's face into the snow, and then the dude like rolls his face over, and it's all like scratched up and bloodied.
from this fresh powder that just now, literally 8 seconds ago, did not cause Sylvester any harm
Right.
when he was face down in
Yes,
it.
Lincoln, that fresh snow. Yes.
Oh, okay, good.
I have a theory on why that might
Do
be.
tell.
Okay, go ahead.
And it's just the amount of steroids that Sylvester Stallone is on. He's developed some sort of chitinous sort
Indestructible.
of armor around all of his body.
just a keratinized husk.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's why he can't move his mouth so far.
Right, because he'll start
If
to
he moved
crack.
it further, it would like crack it. Yeah.
Well, they got him on the side of the jaw that's like adjusted over, so his jaw wasn't even touching the snow.
Oh, I see. Yeah. He literally he's got 10 millimeters of clearance right there.
Clearance.
I feel like this scene is the first like example of this from a slightly tweaked perspective with a little bit of different music and maybe just some different lighting. This is a slasher movie where Sylvester Stallone is just going around murdering people, right? Like the kills are so creative in this.
Especially with the sound effects when he pulls his ice axe out, the schwink and then the
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
I thought you were gonna say like a dark comedy, but I could definitely see how we're like this can easily be taken in so many directions.
Yeah. This is that there are so many branching off points for a better movie, but none of them happen.
They take none of them. But what we do see is we cut back to the Noco boys in their tent, and one of them goes, "Dude, next time you're watching MTV, take a second and flip it to the Weather Channel."
That's right. We do get a third scene,
which
with
I
Dude
just
Bros.
love.
That
They have the exact same energy as the hockey players from Letterkenny.
It is sad though. Like this movie is kind of a tragedy because of some of the things that happen to that couple later on.
Oh, they're so well. It's literally what happens exactly next.
Is it?
My note says, "I am watching for the Noco boys," and then the next thing says, "Oh no, not my Noco boys."
It's very sad. It's a sad day for the Noco boys. They have such a beautiful budding relationship, and it gets squandered.
Yeah, their beautiful love for each other is cut tragically short.
It's sad. It's a sad movie. This
Total
movie.
bummer for the Dude Bros. That is the exact
Total
quote that
bummer
I
for
have
the
written
ski
down.
bums.
However, I do believe you have skipped over my favorite line in the movie, which is where
I'm so
Sylvester
sorry.
has been reunited with his long lost love. They're hanging out in a cave, burning the money in order to stay warm.
Which was a kick-ass transition, by the way.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yes. It is.
And Sylvester says, "Man, sure costs a fortune to heat this place," which entertained me to no end.
You know what? That's a good line. I didn't catch that. That's a
great
good
line.
line.
Pretty good. That's real funny, actually.
Good job, Gabe.
Yeah, solid work, Gabe.
That was clever.
Was that the true story part?
No.
Somebody had a pun.
Although, maybe the most accurate portion of Mountain Rescue. From a like
is what?
this,
Just
you know,
burning money and waiting around?
housing crisis sort of perspective, but we don't have to get
Sure.
into that.
From a Mountain Rescue from a housing crisis. Is that a new book that you're working on, Kristen?
Was this before or after and now I'm about to show how little I've done anything in the woods or mountains or anything like that. Was this before or after the weird castle that he finds her at?
This is after, because they
This
meet
is-
in the castle.
Okay.
Yeah, they get some equipment
Yeah.
once they're in the castle.
What's the cat? What's up with the castle?
So in this is a particular like an Alps, like Italian, like a European kind of thing, where they built all these huts and like refuges in the mountains.
In Colorado?
Not so much in Colorado.
Yes, in the
Well,
Colorado
they have them in
Alps.
Colorado, but they're more like they're more yurts.
Didn't look like a yurt. It looked like a castle.
Right. That's more of a European thing where they're these like they have these stone huts built in the mountains.
We know that they're a European thing, but why is it in America then?
Because it's loosely based on a vague premise.
Wait, are
Lincoln.
you saying that not all of this was the premise? You're saying some of this movie wasn't exactly directly adapted from the premise
I
that
know.
John, whatever his name
John
was?
Long?
John Long? Sure.
John Long, say what you will. I love the man's premises.
The man's got at least one premise for sure.
The man's got a premise. And you know what? It was a pretty good idea for a movie. Was it executed well? No.
It's really entertaining because John Long is actually like a pretty like storied climber and like very famous and like
Yeah, I looked him up a little bit. He's like a well-renowned author.
yeah, he was like one of the first people
Didn't know that at all.
like really care about and like talk about like the history of climbing and particularly in the United States.
And also the history of that one time that he shot like 8 guys in the mountains, I assume.
Presumably. Well, if that's your
One
guess,
time
then
that he
that's your
destroyed
guess. I mean,
$50 million.
It's not my official guess.
Okay.
Oh, I'm so
Oh yeah,
excited.
yeah. Well, we got to get through the rest of this movie first.
So they're in the cave and then they have to climb back out. And this is another Preston technical check-in. from like looking at the cave and the like climbing situation, it doesn't look that hard. Does it look? That doesn't seem very hard. Would it be?
I mean, probably not if it's like tight like that.
Because you
Exactly.
would just
You
push
can just
against
like
both
stem,
sides, right?
which
That's
is
like
where you're
how you
using
do
opposing
it. Yeah.
pressures to
What is?
Oh, he's got to fit
climb
the
yourself.
jargon
Thank you so
in.
much for
up
defining
the
there.
crack. So we've got your like
Hang on.
feet on
Nope,
one side,
actually,
your butt on the other.
Hold on. Stop the podcast.
Feet on one side, butt on the other. Climb up the crack.
Right.
You heard the man.
Oh, yeah.
Stop the podcast. Cliffhanger. Climb up the
Yep.
crack.
Welcome to climbing. There's a lot of innuendo.
Okay,
in it.
writing that one
There's
down.
a lot of
Lincoln, write
innuendo.
that shit down.
Cliffhanger. Climb up the crack. Parentheses. What was the quote that I
Something
wrote down?
about being horny for
Sorry,
dog
give me a second.
puns.
I don't recognize the face, but the butt looks familiar.
I think that should be the title. That's
It's a
Way
long
too
it's a
good.
long title, but it's good. Either that or Cliffhanger.
Okay, we're good.
Justin or John Long's cool true story that we all believe.
John Long's
we
cool.
can't
true
do
premise.
John Long like that.
No, he's cool.
Yeah, we'll do
as
him
far
real
as I can
short.
tell.
So what happens?
Well, yeah. So they're. I don't exactly know when this happens because Lincoln. I think they just like walk out of the cave and then they have to climb up the crack later. But it doesn't really matter.
I don't. I kind
Um,
of checked out maybe during this part and then checked back in once they were climbing up the crack.
I mean, I think we
couldn't
see
miss
the
that.
dude bros where one of
I
them
wouldn't
gets
miss for
shot
the world.
and it's real sad. Potentially the saddest part of the movie.
A couple of times too.
Um,
Definitely the saddest part of the movie. Hold on, for sure.
honestly, yeah, it's more sad than the opening.
Because they seem like comedic relief characters. Like it's like shocking in the way that death is shocking in real life,
Yeah.
where like it feels undeserved.
Yeah, they should be like the characters that somehow skate through this whole thing and like don't even notice that it's
Right.
happening, and you're like, oh, that's so cute.
Yeah,
Funny.
exactly.
But no,
And then
one of them gets
but
shot.
then one of them gets shot to death, and the other one gets hung on the
Yeah.
tree.
I think he lives though.
Did he live?
Well, they show him getting picked up
Right.
by the helicopter, but I don't know. Do we ever?
That's our
see him
cliffhanger.
alive
Oh, that's
again
a good
after
That's
point.
it. We found it. We found the
That's a good
cliffhanger.
point.
We
There's
found
the
it.
wolves,
Did the dude bro make it?
and then he just that's true. He just sort of disappears, doesn't he?
He gets cut down and put on the No, he's still on the helicopter. He dies then.
Oh, that's really sad. Did he beef it?
I have no idea.
What a horrible way to go. Well, here's the thing. It's kind of a cliffhanger because they don't show us that he dies.
We found it.
So
Oh, that's true. Well, that's why they're making a sequel.
we got to find out what happened to that guy.
When they're climbing out of the cave, we also get Batman Begins with some bats,
Oh yes, we
sure.
do.
which also one of the most realistic or unrealistic parts of this movie when Sylvester sticks his hands in bat poo. That is not at all what that shit is at all.
Can you
it's
please
like
enlighten us?
small
What does
pellets.
it actually look like?
That sort of like
They just
coagulates
in
into
this
like a
universe,
solid,
it's a
like,
uniform.
chunk.
Muck.
It's not this like liquid.
Interesting.
And besides, it's winter.
Like a human
that would have been
doogie.
frozen.
Like a boy dookie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it also would have been frozen. That's true. Also, they act like those bats are like each individually
Right.
gonna like try to kill them, but like
Okay.
don't bats just like fly around you?
Well,
like are they
they-
actually trying
This is
to?
a
They carry
question.
rabies.
This is a question I had
That's the thing you have to watch
because
out
I've
for.
seen bats so many times. I've seen bats in movies attack, like fly past people so many times, and I've always thought every single time I would not be worried. Like it might be kind of spooky at first, but like it's just some little rats. Like it's gonna be okay. And everybody freaks out like it's the worst thing they've ever seen.
I think I would definitely feel like, you know, the sensation of things flying in your face
Sure.
over and over again would be like pretty
I'm not saying
disorienting.
it'd be great. I'm just saying I wouldn't be like freaking out.
Yeah, I agree though. I wouldn't be like screaming my lungs out the whole time. I would mostly just be trying to cover my face and sit still.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think that's enough.
Or
talking
bond with them.
about bat shit.
Or bond with them.
It's
or
not.
become one with them.
Yeah, I want to become a Morbius man who can do a cool Kamehameha with the bats.
I appreciate that a consistent
Cliffhanger.
theme with this podcast is Morbius.
Colon
Like I don't know that we've
Kamehameha
had an episode where we don't
with
bring Morbius into this.
the bats.
We got to bring Morbius into it. It's part of our contract.
Oh, it is. Oh,
With Jared Leto. The contract we signed in blood with Jared Leto.
yeah.
it's our marketing
What's weird
deal.
is he didn't ask us to do that. We just-
He was very into it once he found out, but he did not
Obviously.
request
It's
it.
Jared Little, of course he was.
there's also a great scene
We told him it might be for a role.
or a great moment when Sylvester's climbing out of the crack, where he's like got to poke his head through the snow, and generic henchman number 7.
And he just whips his head around at supersonic speed.
Or generic henchman number 7.
And also, don't you dare call the most fun part of the whole movie generic.
Yeah.
You know, that's fair. That's actually very
Yeah,
fair.
I was wrong about the plane. This is the most fun part of the movie.
Thank
right here.
you. This was my most fun part of the movie. This is the part where he gets stabbed right up into a stalactite. It was amazing.
This is when the henchman comes down and he like beats the shit out
Rocky
of
3.
Stallone, and he's shouting wrong answer over and over again, and it's this like this extra, and he just like appears with this like incredible amount of charisma out of nowhere, and you're like, why wasn't this actor the main focus of this whole movie? Like, he could have carried the whole movie as the antagonist.
Absolutely.
For sure.
I love me some John Lithgow, but imagine.
This movie could have been so much more unhinged, which is strange to say considering how unhinged it was, but like it could have just even been the one step more.
For sure. That's what it needs.
Yeah, and it all culminates with Homeboy just getting overhead pressed into a stalactite.
It's so good. Is it a stalactite? Have I been saying the wrong shit?
It is a
every
stalactite.
fucking-
I looked it up.
I knew it.
It's a
I
stalactite.
stuck with it because I said it the one time and I was like, cool, I feel good about myself. And I knew it was.
You're right.
I was
You
right.
did it. Stalactite is the word. You got it. You had it. That's what I'm saying. I was trying to tell
I'm
you.
so proud of myself.
Yeah.
Wow.
I
Redemption
looked it
arc
up.
for
We're
John.
so proud. We're so stoked for you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I love this. I don't even remember if they ever refer to him by name. I don't know what this guy's
I don't
name
think
is.
he gets a name. In fact, for the first many times we see him, he has a ski mask on, which is funny to me
He's a
because
ski
he's
mask
the
on.
only not white person in that crew.
So you're saying he would have been picked out of a lineup of these criminals?
Well, yeah, I'm saying like, why?
Is that what you're trying to say?
What are you hiding from? Like, you're the only one.
Yeah, I was seeing this guy just like appear and single-handedly bring this movie to like huge amounts of fun and silliness and action.
It's so awesome.
And then it's just even more disappointing that he wasn't the focus of the entire narrative.
Oh yeah.
Also, just the fact that the bad guys have nothing to do with climbing is kind of frustrating the whole time.
In what way?
Well, what did you want to? Did you want to climb off? Like,
Yeah, I wanted to. Yes, it's a 1993 action movie called Cliffhanger starring Sylvester Stallone. You think I wasn't going to expect a climb off?
that's very fair, actually.
All right. I'll give you that one. I'm a little disappointed.
That would have been
now.
pretty sick.
Which that is one thing that I think is
Yeah,
pretty
there's-
funny.
There should have been a case at the top of a cliff, and they have to race to get to the top to get to the money.
Oh, you get like the money and someone Stallone cares about and put them together.
There you
Oh,
go.
yeah.
Good.
And it's like a trolley problem Spider-Man
It's like that
situation.
But if the bus full of children was a thing Stallone didn't want,
I love that they destroy the money in drastically different ways every
that's a
time.
good time.
Because he throws it into an avalanche, and then he burns it, and then he like his upward press stalagmite move. He upward presses the case into a helicopter blade.
Which that scene is hilarious to me because the bad guy just sort of like lets his leverage go. And it's just like, I really hope that Sylvester just throws the money in. Like, what's the bad guy like? There's zero
You'd
motivation.
think when
there.
they made such a big deal, about it being like in the plane heist scene where the guy comes before the money. You'd think after making such a big deal about that, then they wouldn't just actively do the thing that they were like, you'd probably do that to me.
Real bad. There's also a scene.
Yeah, I was trying to think of what I had to
There's
say.
a couple different C4 explosions. One
Yes,
that
there
they
are.
like. I think they're trying to like collapse the cave, the crack that they're in, and then another one where there's a tripwire on a drawbridge or on a rickety old. Sorry,
It's not a
sorry,
drawbridge.
Lincoln, not a draw. What kind of bridge is it, Lincoln? You tell us.
A Temple
I
of
think
Doom
it's
There
a
we
Bridge.
go. A
rope
Temple of
bridge.
Doom bridge.
A Temple of Doom
Of
bridge.
Doom.
Correct.
Wait,
Thank you for using the technical term.
now I really want to see a mashup of Temple of Doom and Dune. I really want to see that.
I'd
now.
watch that.
I'm going to think about that for the
I would
rest of
watch
the night.
that.
Temple
For
of
sure.
Doom.
Anyways,
So it's gonna go like Dune, Doom Messiah, Children of Dune, Temple of Dune, God Emperor of Dune, Dune 2: The Trench, another sequel to Dune, The Fate of the Furious, Dune.
Yeah, and then Dune X, Back in the Habit.
Okay, yeah, cool.
2 Dune, 2 Desert. Anyways, man, there's so many other things. Like, there's a whole scene where Sylvester gets stuck under the ice and Hal rescues him, and then suddenly they're buddies again.
Oh, that happens later. Yeah. I want to talk about Jess, the character, because I really think she was done dirty by this movie. Because it's seems like it's established early on that she's like competent and that she knows what's happening and that she can like climb and she's like part of the rescue team and everything. And then she spends literally the entire rest of the runtime of the movie like waiting to be saved by Gabe.
Very true.
And I can't help but think like, doesn't she like know what to do? Like, doesn't she have the same training that Gabe has? Like, why is her first response just to like stay where she is and scream until Gabe comes to rescue her?
My only suggestion might be 1993.
I
don't
think
know.
that's
That
really
seems
the only
like all I have.
thing for it. Yeah, that's a very, very good point.
That's the era of like Sarah Connor and Ripley and like lots of like strong female protagonists.
that
and
is
it was just
true.
like, nope, not this time.
This one doesn't count though.
Yeah, so
They put a bomb or
there's
something
like
in a snowman. Did we talk about that?
no, they put the tracker on the snowman and then they put it on a little rabbit.
Oh, that's fun. Those are both fun.
Wait, they put a tracker on the rabbit?
And the little rabbit doesn't die.
Oh.
Yeah, he puts the second tracker on the snowman and the third tracker on the rabbit.
Tell you what, I lost the plot somewhere in this
I've
movie.
seen this movie at least 3 times, and I have not picked up on that.
Yeah, because then he tries to shoot the rabbit, but then the rabbit is okay. And I was really gonna be mad if the rabbit died.
Lincoln, is there any chance that you watched this movie and then accidentally clicked on some sort of Looney Tunes thing for like 10 seconds and then went back to this movie?
No, maybe, because it does say, good job catching that rabbit, and then the next note is, love the frozen abandoned mine shaft.
This is a pretty
So maybe
Looney
that is
Tunes
what happened.
movie.
I guess.
The more that I think about it, the more sense it makes that this would be the plot of a Looney Tunes movie.
Actually, yeah, even down to like the plane crash. This is a Looney Tunes film. This is a...
Okay, I'm trying to remember. There's a helicopter crash, and then do they go to the abandoned mining town or the abandoned mine? You know what I'm talking about? Like the kind of like the crevice with like the mine, and that's where the ice is.
What?
Maybe it's not a mine. Maybe it's just.
You
know what I'm talking about, though? The scene where he jumps underneath the
in
ice.
a crevice that they climb up, and then right before that gets blown up, they repel and then swing over into another.
But then who does he kill when he's underneath the ice and he shoots upwards?
Who
does
I
he
have
kill?
no idea.
He doesn't kill
No.
the main bad guy then, does he?
No. That's
No.
on top of a helicopter. Like a Mission Impossible
And then
would.
they climb back up. Is that what they do? They climb back up to get the main bad
No,
guy?
because they have the radio, and then Homeboy does a real Hans Gruber and radios that he has his girlfriend.
Oh, okay.
Do you guys think that there's people who listen to this podcast and go, it can't be hard to remember a movie, right? Like one movie, what happens in a single
a movie that you literally watched less than an hour
Yeah,
ago?
like I finished this movie right before we started.
To our dear listeners, we're treating this like a bit, but it's not. Like we're trying
It's really
to give
not.
you
My brain is
the
smooth at this
experience
point.
of watching the movie yourself without having to actually endure watching the movie yourself.
No, you have to endure talking through it with none of the action
exactly.
or the
Yeah.
blood or even the
Yeah,
like
'cause
explosions.
None of the good stuff, all the stuff you didn't like.
Because this movie
Yeah, that's our
packs
goal here.
so much into it, and it's so convoluted.
But like, okay, here's my
It
problem.
definitely
Here's
is.
my biggest problem with this movie is it packs a lot in, but all of the a lot that it packs is just run over and do this thing, run over and go over here, and now run over here, and now run that way. Like there's
Very
nothing
contrived.
important. It just smoothed my brain over to the point there we got to the end and it was like, I don't know what's happening. I'm just living my life. I don't know, man. Helicopter crashed.
Yeah, I
got nothing.
definitely glanced up from my computer screen and went, "Oh, it's over."
Yeah.
Oh, weird. I will say I do appreciate a movie that ends 15 seconds after the most
It was
intense part
so
of it.
fast. There was no resolution.
And it's great because so let me set the scene here. So the bad guy gets killed when his helicopter sort of just falls off the cliff and explodes. It's very Mission Impossible-esque. And that's
Yeah.
when the FBI agents show up. And they're on the radio and they basically say, "Oh, great, thanks for killing the dude. Yeah, we'll
come pick you
We'll
up."
find you guys some like transportation." And then the three rescuers are just sort of like, "Okay, we'll just sit here." Like, "Hey, what about our friends?" And like, "What about Dubros?" And like, yeah, exactly.
just
It's just
died.
like,
What
"All
about
right,
reckoning with the
Yeah.
fact that we just did a murder?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what about like the very bad weather that they keep like alluding to, but we don't ever actually really see?
Yeah, and it just sort of ends.
There are some shots of this movie where like someone's stepping out of a helicopter that you're like, this is July. This is like the heat of summer.
Oh, yeah.
This looks gorgeous outside. This is like long sleeve shirt,
I mean,
mountain
yeah, that's
kind
like
of
a
weather.
lot of times the mountains in the winter. Or it's like really nice. Oh yeah, yeah,
It is?
totally. Because you're up like with the elevation, the sun, like there's less atmosphere between you and the sun, so the sun's more intense, and with all the snow around, like reflecting it, it gets really, really warm.
So it's like there can be snow on the ground, and even though the air temperature's not that
Right.
high, there's like a
Yeah,
lot
exactly.
of heat hitting you. Oh,
And
okay.
especially
So
like
it's
when you're like
because you're
moving,
closer to
like,
God.
climbing and stuff.
So you're saying this is not because production took longer than one season and they had to film some of this
Well,
in
who
warmer
said that?
climates than others.
Both of those things couldn't occur.
I guess that's true.
Is it possible that it's also because they're higher elevation and that means they are closer to God, and so then they're a little warmer just from his embrace? Was that
Well, they would be, but they are so dirty that their lack of cleanliness takes them back down to regular
that makes sense?
level.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for explaining that.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I didn't like this one. This is a bad one.
the movie.
The movie, yeah. The podcast
it's
is
a
great.
movie
The
that's
movie
like-
is
It's-
bad.
It's one of those that's like more frustrating than it is like terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true, because there's a couple
Like-
of moments that I was like, oh, this could have been a movie, but they chose to not make it that.
They chose to not make it a movie. Yeah, it's basically, yeah, I like, John, how you compared it to a video game earlier, how it's just like this endless sea of like side quests. And it doesn't ever, you get to the end and you're like, did that actually like add up to anything?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like that, I don't know, that's something, but was it? Like, I feel like that's a long movie. It's like 113 minutes. It's almost 2 hours. It's too many
Way
minutes.
too many minutes.
Yeah. For what it actually was. It could have been like 80.
It should have been a
minutes.
tight 90 at the most.
I think they when they
Yeah.
were brainstorming what like stunts and action scenes they wanted to do, they were like brainstormed a list and then just said, well, we can't decide what to cut, so we'll just do all of them.
And we're also not going to change the order of the stunts. We're just going to, as is, just go with exactly what we wrote down. No, we're not going to change for anything because we already wrote this down and this pencil doesn't have very much eraser on it. It's just like a little sliver. So like, I'm not going to erase this whole page.
Yeah, they're like, how do we
Try
get a
again.
base jump in the first 3? Okay.
Okay.
Shoot.
Wait, and we wrote it right after. We would think that maybe base jump could be more connected to like plane crash, but
yeah, or like helicopter crash or something cool that means anything. But no, that's okay.
you know, like we got vehicles in the air and we got people with parachutes. Those two groups of people are never going to
those
meet.
can never interact.
That's why it's base jumping, Lincoln, and not skydiving. Come on. Obviously.
So sorry.
So let's talk about the homework, because I am so excited to hear your responses. There is an element of this movie that is based on a true story, and your job was to attempt to guess which element of this movie was. Whoever would like to go first, take it away.
Can I go first?
I know Lincoln's is better than mine, so I would love to go first, just for comedic purposes.
Just go ahead.
Really self-aware of you.
I guess.
Thanks. Mine is my everything in my bones wanted to say the majority of the plot, but the way you phrased this makes me think it's definitely not that. So What I'm going to say is Sylvester Stallone did put on a pair of boots one time. And then they were like, John Long was like, well, fuck me. That's an idea for a movie.
There's a premise if I ever saw one.
That there's a premise.
What I think is the true story is that one time in the mountains of Colorado, two people got in a fight in a cave, and one kept saying "wrong answer, motherfucker," and they punched the shit out of each other until one of them upward pressed the other and impaled him upon a stalactite.
Suplexed him into a stalactite.
The man who did the upward press was none other than John Long himself. And once he impaled that man, he said, "Ooh, I think I got a premise right
You
here."
know, it's funny because I agree with that, Lincoln, because he never told anybody about it, but he confessed to his sins with this movie.
Yeah, it's like artistic license. Like it's not technically a confession. It's just between him and
Yeah,
God.
you know how like some people believe that Stanley Kubrick like said that he faked the moon landing by way of The Shining? It's like that.
Yeah. In this movie, so it's not true. Stanley Kubrick didn't actually admit that he faked the moon landing in The Shining, but John Long did admit that he impaled a man on a stalactite
Right.
in this movie.
Kind of a weird Venn diagram, though, because Stanley Kubrick did also fake stabbing a man with a stalactite.
Yeah, he actually directed this one. Did you know that?
That explains the long silences where people just look into the camera.
That explains the beautiful, beautiful composition and symmetry.
That explains why it made no fucking sense.
So I'm sure everyone listening, and we are too, on pins and needles, Preston, what is actually the true story?
The criminal plane crash in a national park is the true portion of that story.
That's kind of awesome. That's amazing.
Shit you not. So
was it like
what
also
really happened?
A bunch of
What really
money?
happened?
Like
So in Yosemite National Park, I don't remember exactly what time period this is, but there was a drug plane from Colombia that went down.
Preston, are you telling me this and the movie Cocaine Bear are based on the same story?
They are.
Is that what you're telling me,
the-
Preston?
Cocaine Bear is not connected. You can absolutely think that if that makes you happy.
Are you sure?
No, I'm dead serious. So the plane goes down in Yosemite, and some people discovered it, and then it was like a giant bonanza of people like going up and like pulling all of this weed out of this plane and then selling it. And it's like a storied event.
cocaine.
And then a
in,
whole bunch of people got
Yosemite,
shot?
Like climbing history. And John Long
Is Cocaine
made
Bear
a movie about
based
it.
on a true story? Let's see what Screen Rant has to say. Wow, there's
Wait, is that the title of the article?
no, it's not. I wish it was.
That's what he's searching.
Guys, I got a fun little internet update for you guys. Screen Rant
Yeah.
has so many ads that I want to kill myself. This is insane. Okay, hold on. Okay, now I know about the Cocaine Bear story, true story. Cliffhanger.
I'm gonna put in some really catchy music right here as we.
Oh no! I
gonna be
think
like
we just
Social
want to hear.
Network.
I think we need to hear John's like mumbling to himself as he's confirming my story.
Okay. All right. No, I believed your story. It's not. All right. So it's not the same story, which I feel like is almost better because that means it's happened 2 times, which is a lot of
happened
times
2
for that to
different
happen.
times. Yeah, we live in the universe where Twice has a drug plane crashed in a forest and caused mayhem and resulted in the production of a major motion picture.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Anyways, that is the true portion of the story.
Preston, I'm so glad you knew that, and I'm so glad you brought that to us.
That's
I'm just so
amazing.
happy right now.
That is
so
so
welcome.
amazing.
If you want to
Yeah.
learn more, highly
was a
recommended.
fitting-
Valley Uprising. It's one of the best climbing movies.
Is it?
Bye.
And it talks about that incident. Highly recommended.
Oh, okay.
So, should we get ready to sum up this experience for our listeners?
Oh yeah, we're doing our new
Yeah,
ending.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing our punishment.
What is the equivalent punishment of having to watch this movie?
This is the equivalent punishment. This is the equivalent punishment to playing a platformer on the PlayStation 2 with having no idea what any of the controls are and the controls change every time you die.
Okay. I'm going to say that this is the cinematic punishment equivalent to getting invited to a pizza party, going to that pizza party, and finding out it's just Totino's.
This is the cinematic punishment equivalent to when you lost your way in a book and you try to thumb through it and you like way overshoot it and then you thumb through it the other way and you way undershoot it and then you have to like keep going back and forth to try to center on what page you were at.
This is the cinematic equivalent of having to listen to a story from a person that you really don't care about and really don't want to talk to, and they just cannot figure out how to tell the story.
A little
corrected.
riff on that one. This is the cinematic equivalent of listening to someone explain their dream to you.
Yes, that's a good one. This is a cinematic equivalent of watching Sylvester Stallone do a single push-up and then congratulate himself for 45 straight
And kiss
minutes
his
after
sweet
that.
biceps the whole time because he doesn't understand.
This is the cinematic equivalent to going through a bunch of photos that you took after a vacation and slowly realizing that every single one of them is out of focus.
This is the cinematic equivalent of printing out like a large essay or paper and then dropping all of the pages and trying to figure out how to put it back together in order.
We're really landing on
this
this
is
like
good.
idea of like disorientation and frustration has been like the main feelings associated
So I
with
guess
this
if you
movie.
want to be disoriented and confused, you should watch Cliffhanger.
And you haven't been by this
Watch
podcast
Cliffhanger.
somehow. All right, your homework for the movie, your movie. Let me
I was
start
gonna
that
say,
over.
do we get to know the movie
again,
first,
'cause
or
it's-
is this a...
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I crashed that car. I'm gonna just unlock him a new one
Don't worry.
and try again.
I'll fix it in post.
Please don't. Your movie for next week is Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I'm gonna let you all make sure that that's a real movie that you believe in. There's a bunch of K's in there that you wouldn't expect.
Oh no.
Not 3, just
Killer.
2. Don't worry.
19. Oh, great. Loving this era. Okay.
Your homework for that movie, when you watch the movie, during your watch of the movie, I want you to eat one or all of these 3 things. Your list is, do you have your notes ready?
So I have to eat these
While you're
things?
watching the movie.
Okay.
1, 2, somewhere between 1 and 3 of these things. 4.
Okay.
1 and 4 of these things. Sorry. Cotton candy, popcorn, a hot dog, or a soda.
I have to eat a soda.
So we have
Yeah,
to
you have to
eat
eat
one of these
You
4
have to
things.
eat. Okay, all right. I'm gonna amend. You have to eat one of the 3 things and drink a soda of your choice.
Okay, so it's either cotton candy, popcorn, hot dog with a
Yes,
soda.
or all 3 if you want to
Okay.
go a little bit apeshit crazy.
I have a suspicion that like terrible things are going to happen with each of these foods in
Enjoy
the
the
movie.
movie.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to end. This has been Twinkie Talk, a podcast of cinematic punishment, brought to you by the Evening Brothers. I have been Brother Preston.
I have been Brother Lincoln.
And I am Brother John. Use it, my dude.
Oh, I forgot to do my special
Okay,
phrase.
I got you. I covered it.
Perfect.
Awesome.